Hi, it's Glenn Dietzel here from the Canadian Lake Home on a frozen Lake Huron. Super cold. Just want to let you know that the video that the Google Hangout that you're about to see, I shot this video for you because I'm actually away. And the training that I'm going to do with you on accelerated learning is with one of my clients, Kellen. You're going to learn a ton. Watch it, learn, and I look forward to doing another live Google Hangout with you on our Business Breakthrough Google Hangout times in a couple of weeks. So anyways, enjoy the interview.
I want to welcome all of you to our Google Hangout today. We started last week around the whole concept of accelerated learning in business, and you will know that we defined accelerated learning from the standpoint of ROIT. And if you're new here and you're not sure what ROIT is, you want to make sure, I'll define it here in just a moment, and we covered this last week on my interview with Winston Churchill. But first thing I want you to welcome all of you to our Google Hangout today. We started last week around the whole concept of accelerated learning in business, and you will know that we defined accelerated learning from the standpoint of ROIT. And if you're new here and you're not sure what ROIT is, you want to make sure I'll define it here in just a moment. We have myself playing here on another last week on my interview with Winston Churchill. But first thing I want you to welcome all of you to our Google Hangout today. We started last week around the whole concept of accelerated learning. Here we are. All right, sorry about that. It's always a fun one. If you have a YouTube link going on or another page here, and I did, and it was lost. It was actually on another. It wasn't in Chrome. I had Firefox open, and it was playing in Firefox. So I apologize for that. Let's see here. Firing up another window here. So going back to what we were talking about, building an ROIT business. To understand ROIT, you really need to understand ROI. And return on investment, that's what everybody wants in programs, right? That's what everybody that joins Omegamine wants, you know, with Omegamine. It's all about, okay, how can I get my return on my investment as quickly as possible? And when we talk about ROI then, I link ROI with accelerated business systems. And that's really what we teach in Omegamine. And then from a standpoint of ROIT, we take that ROI concept one step further, because what good is it to build accelerated cash flow if you're not building around a better model of doing business, or, you know, what I would say a better lifestyle business. And that's our concept of ROIT, and that's where I think accelerated learning is crucial. Because if you could do things in a faster way, in other words, if you consume content quicker and easier, you can do things quicker and faster in business, and in turn you can teach your clients to do the same thing quicker and faster, you're going to build a company that is really, truly a company that you're going to not only be proud of because of the results that you put in the marketplace, but it's going to allow you an ROIT business, or return on invested time, so that you can have the time to grow a company. And one of the big problems with people in growing companies is they spend so much time in the wrong areas of business, or they spend a lot of time you know, doing things incorrectly or out of the right order, and they eventually get bogged down and they become a prisoner to the system that they've created. So I want to help you not create that kind of prisoner-like system with your own business. And today I'm going to talk with Kellen Flukiger, and I'm going to talk to him about what he's been able to accomplish in Omegamine already. And so that's a conversation we're going to have in light of, you know, accelerated learning. And I really believe what we've put together in Omegamine, and in integrating accelerated business systems with accelerated learning, and I believe that modeling is the #1 way that we learn. So modeling, I believe, is the ultimate way of helping somebody achieve accelerated learning with their own business, and in turn be able to do that with their own clients. And then that's where I believe that real mastery learning happens. In teaching, we have this concept which is a term called pedagogy. Pedagogy is just a term that refers to your ability to teach, all right, and how you teach and how people learn. And when I was in education, there was a concept called master teacher. And master teachers were like the teachers that went to the highest levels in education, and were known for their abilities to be able to teach all kinds of students, and because they had the grasp of how they've mastered pedagogy. So I want to help you today master accelerated learning in your own business, and I think it's really instructive if you get a chance to hear what Kellen Flukiger has done and be able to start modeling some of what he would recommend. All right, and that's where I think that's where I believe learning really takes off and will allow your company to grow even faster. When not only are you teaching people to do and get the results that you want them to get and they want, which is ROI, but you're able to take it one step further, and they in turn teach their clients, and that's what really sets up an ROIT business, because now you're really creating some massive leverage in business, and that's what we all want, right? And this is the market for educating. Sorry, I just clunked my desk here. That is the marketplace. We're in the marketplace today to create a really strategic educational process to get your clients to want to do business with you, and in turn get the results that they want, and then they're propagating your methodologies with their marketplace, and it's building for you a really strong foundation and allowing you to leverage the training environment that we're in today. So I'm going to bring in Kellen. First of all, Kellen, why don't you let everybody know who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about the great Kellen Flukiger.
All right, the great Kellen Flukiger. Hi, I'm Kellen Flukiger, and I have to congratulate Glenn. He finally learned how to say my last name because it's so complicated. It's been said all kinds of ways all my life. Anyway, I live in the Phoenix area. I've spent all my life in the Western U.S. I run a couple of businesses. I have a long history of executive work in the energy industry in the United States and in Canada. And in the last 6 years, I have focused exclusively on two kinds of coaching. One is accelerated business coaching, which is why I've been really excited about being part of Glenn's processes here and adopting completely the accelerated learning models. I had a piece of a program before called Jumpstart Your Genius, which had a lot of accelerated learning principles that are very, very similar and married very well with what Glenn is teaching, and I really have enjoyed that. The other piece of business that I do, the other half of my coaching, is personal breakthrough work, and my clients are split about 50-50. So those are the two things that I do, get people to achieve impossible results personally, and then help businesses create through what I call speak-to-profit marketing, which is a comprehensive system of showing up all over the place on the web and positioning yourself as the answer instead of an alternative. And that, of course, is very attractive to people who want to make a lot of money and be positioned as the #1 irresistible option.
All right, great, Kellen. A couple of things then. First of all, let's set the scene. Why did you invest in Omegamine? Because I want to talk about Omegamine and what you've learned in Omegamine from an accelerated learning perspective. So just first of all, why did you invest in Omegamine? What were you really looking for?
I invested in Omegamine for one reason. I've been an executive at the CEO level in more than one country. When I saw the inverted business funnel, the idea, which resonated completely with me, of selling high-end programs first, turning out massive results immediately at a pinnacle, a tipping point, by changing some critical small leverage pieces, that was immediately attractive to me. It is things that I had done in creating massively successful teams in my energy career. It resonated with me in terms of creating that online. So that thing right there was the piece that made me think I needed to investigate further.
All right, good. So let's move into then what have you learned in the time that you've been involved with Omegamine? Why don't you let everybody know how long you've been in the program, and maybe take a look at what you've learned, and especially from the accelerated learning perspective, and how it's worked out for you in business.
We started together in, I think, September or October. We shared a stage where we were at an event, and we connected there. And at that time, we spoke about the program, and I became really interested because of the reasons that I said. I started right away thinking about how to effectively apply that, because before that I had in mind high-end programs, but they were in an ascension model instead of a inverted model, and so I immediately changed that. And the key here, you talk about accelerated learning, is immediately. So I said, okay, scrap that. We're going to immediately change the way we do that. And how can I then position how can I position an inverted or high-end program immediately that solves a problem, that solves a real powerful problem, and all the things that you talk about, what trends are going on, how can you be at the front of them, all that. So thinking immediately that way. The first accelerated learning piece was changing the way I'm thinking about it. What significant problem can I solve for people using all the experience that I've had, which is a lot in different areas, and how can I solve it now? How can I present it in terms of the exciting, big promise achievement that they can achieve right away? And it was interesting that you mentioned teaching their customers, because often I find myself using that phrase, well, all this stuff I'm showing you, you can teach your clients. You can teach them that, and so the propagation of that, the waves of that, is also something that has become immediately apparent. So my actions immediately were to invert my business thinking, to decide what major problems I could solve immediately, to immediately think about how to create value that would support high-end programs. So how can I create a value proposition that supports high-end investment right away? That's a whole different question. If you have an issue with what you can charge and all that other stuff, that's a different problem, but I didn't have that problem. So turning that upside down, creating those high-end values in my mind, and then leveraging it, or not leveraging, but positioning it the way that you have described in Omegamine, which is with the deductive reasoning, the big promise, the way to get people into the vision of the possible, and to just start thinking and languaging that. So that changing the model was one. Accelerated learning part two was immediately adopting the languaging. The languaging of momentum, where things are always happening, things are moving forward. I am naturally a person of almost boundless energy and excitement, and because of that, well, I say that without even anything. People tell me that all the time, but I know it. So being in my presence, people just say, I got to take a break, I got to move away a foot, because I carry that kind of energy around, and that's okay. But that allowed me to speak easily in terms of momentum, to speak easily in terms of vision and possibility, and to create the kind of leveraging in people's minds that creates. They get excited about the possibility and what they might be able to do, and catching that vision with that languaging. It was another immediately accelerated learning piece. I'm going to stop so you can ask another question, because otherwise I'll just keep talking.
Okay, no problem. So let's pick up on that momentum, for example, because people want to be close to the source of momentum, right? It's one of our speed to market principles. It's like, when you go to New York City, Manhattan, where does everybody want to go to? They want to go to Times Square, because that's where everything's going on, right? How do you create that in your own business, or what have you learned to do through Omegamine, and what have you found is working? What are you doing specifically? What's working? And realizing that, again, as you said, we've got to be able to, in today's overcrowded marketplace, people want to be close to where there is momentum. So what are you doing, and what are a couple of your recommendations to our viewers?
One of the things we talked about in Omegamine was about bold predictions. Bold predictions. So you might, depending on what business you're in and all that kind of stuff, be afraid of making a bold prediction. Because I've been in high-pressure jobs and stuff all my life, and testified before Congress and all kinds of messy things, I'm not afraid of that. So that really appealed to me, and I was able to think of a bold prediction. And I'll say it right now. If you as a business are not showing up in a big way in video on YouTube with a powerful presence and using your personal story as leverage this year in 2014, your business is headed out the door, down the hill, off the radar screen. And I say that, and I've said it to people, and I catch their attention. And like hard, because some that have started and are thinking, oh good, I'm started, and others that haven't started yet, uh, go, oh crap, I got to get going. I have never had anybody disagree with me. I have never had anybody say to me, I don't think so, ever. And so it is so cool. I say that, and it's like, okay, now what? And so you get that kind of feeling that makes people do it. So that is one piece that we talked about that I immediately, and again, I'm going to emphasize the word immediately. I immediately said, okay, not whether or not, but how do I do that today, this week, right now? Let me start messing with some words. What would make sense? And then do it now. Language it. Stand by it. Feel it. So that's immediately one thing about momentum. That created all kinds of momentum because it gave me something immediate and powerful to say. It gave somebody the feeling of you're right there on the edge and you're looking at these trends and feelings, and YouTube has overtaken Google as the #1 search engine, and the average view time on YouTube is 72 seconds, and everybody's looking up there, and I better be there or I'm dead. You know, it just creates that feeling of urgency.
You know, one of the quickest ways for all of us to use accelerated learning immediately, and I don't care if you are a kinesthetic learner, an auditory learner, or a visual learner, is really learning how to ask better questions of yourself. Because when you think about it, all of our kind of habitual comatose-like activities that we do every day, myself included, is really run on a set of questions that we ask ourselves and a set of immediate answers that we give ourselves. And so that's how we drive, you know, to Starbucks in the morning first thing, when I don't even remember really how I drove there this morning, other than I know I went the same route though every single day, and my mind's working on kind of automatically. Kellen, what have you done to engage yourself? Kind of some of the questions that you're asking yourself, what are they, and how are you ensuring that you're asking better questions of yourself every single day? Because we can all make a quantum leap in how we focus and how we execute simply by asking better questions of ourselves. So what are you doing specifically there?
Okay. Specifically, what I do is I take time every morning to meditate. So I take some specific time. Sometimes it's walking meditation, sometimes it's quiet. I have written 5 books on meditation, and I've studied it for 40 years, so I am an authority. But the authority doesn't make you practice. So I take the time to practice it every day, and in that practice I do several things. I understand if things are bothering me. I understand what they are, where they are, and then the questions. So how do I ask myself better questions? I always say, how can I make this work better today? I'll give you an example. This very morning. So I came back from a 3-day event last night. I looked at the list of things that I wanted to do, and I felt overwhelmed, like we all do. And so the shift this morning, the better question was, okay, here is the big long list of things I could do today, and I never get them all done, and I beat myself up over the fact that I don't get them done. What if I said, these are the 4 things that I must do today, and instead focus my attention on lengthening this list instead of shortening this list? Because this list will never get done, and I can feel really good about lengthening this list when maybe I start with 3 or 4 that have to happen. That change of questioning changed my whole attitude. It's like, hey, I can do 3 things or 4, and then I can feel good about lengthening this list. Boom. Changed my whole day.
You know, I want to pick up on something, and thank you for that. That's fantastic. Some really good tips and nuggets here for all of us. You said something here which is really instructive for all of us. You know, the difference between authority and practice. You know, me being a very cognitive, by nature, a very cognitive person, somebody that processes and analyzes things to death, which held me back, you know, for years and years and years, thinking, and I operated in business my first 2.5 years, treating kind of business, if you will, like I was doing a PhD program. This whole concept of practice is crucial. And what are you practicing every single day? Kellen, what are some of the things, what have you been practicing in business today that you weren't practicing before you got into Omegamine? And I know you're getting ready for an event, which I want to talk about, you know, something that you probably wouldn't have done had you not been Omegamine, I think, you know. So let's talk about the Kellen Flukiger before Omegamine and what you were practicing versus the Kellen Flukiger today, about 5 months later from when you started in the program. what are you practicing today? So let's take a look at that kind of contrast, if you will. And
So
then
the
what
first
it's done
thing,
for you.
so I didn't hear the second question, but let me just do the first one. The first thing that jumps to mind is every single day I'm thinking of one question. How can I get in front of more people? How can I get in front of more people? So what you talk about all the time is how to close some deals, close some deals, close some deals. So I've adopted the languaging. How am I going to close a deal today? And if I'm not going to close a deal today, how can I get in front of more people? My personal power comes from talking to people. When I'm in their presence, either online or stuff like that, I carry enormous power. I can get right to them. I can see them. I can do things for them. And that's good, and it's just a talent that I have. But it doesn't count unless I get in front of people. So the question every day is, how am I going to get in front of somebody today, or somebody's? Is it a one-to-one? Is it a one-to-many? Am I going to go to a networking event? Is there a hangout that I'm going to hold? Have I got a list of people to call? I've got now today, the answer to that question is, and so I always believe in real time, today the answer to that question is I have at least 10 or 15 people to follow up on from this event that I went to that wanted me, that some of them just said nothing more than, gee, you know, I just like standing around you because you have the energy. And I was a coach, and I was a little bit featured at the event, but no, I wasn't like part of the stage or anything, but just kind of peripherally. But just being there, being present, and being noisy. So it turns into, what am I going to do to follow up today? Okay, I got 15 people to at least send an email or send a text and get in front of them today. How am I going to get in front of them today? So that's something I didn't do before with that kind of vigor, and the reason I did it is because you said speed to closing deals. What are you going to do to get, so for me that means getting in front of people so I have the possibility of closing a deal. So that's one thing. The second thing is constantly thinking about the positioning and value of the big problem that I solve. The positioning and value of the big problem that I can solve for businesses in the market. So, for example, I know today, right this minute, how to get any local business on the #1 page of Google Local in less than a week. I can do that. And getting that business proposition in front of somebody is like, oh, man, you can do that for me? Like, yeah, I can do that. But I didn't think about it in terms of that is a problem that any local business would die to solve. And I can do it. And then thinking about how to get it in front of them and so forth. So understanding the problem you solve, learning how to language it in terms of momentum and big problem and the the beautiful future pictures that draw people in a heavy emotional way to get them hooked, and then doing it quickly, doing it today. What can I do today to make that happen? So those are some things that have been different, and I had several challenges to set up an event and do it, and I had committed to do one a few months ago to myself, and I didn't make it because some things intervened. But I have one now on the 24th, 5th, and 6th of March, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, here in Phoenix. And it is on this speed to profit marketing, which is, again, like I said, creating a comprehensive presence on the internet for your business so you become the answer instead of an alternative. But the reason I picked those dates, and I'm driving for them without any question or exception, is because of the challenge that we have in Omegamine, which I initiated. But hey, it was for all of us, threw it down to have an event by the end of March. So the answer is the date was set, and I had already raised my hand, and so that happened for the same reason.
Right, and that kind of appointment setting with ourselves is so crucial, right? We're and all of us here have had an appointment to be on this Google Hangout, and setting really crucial appointment dates with ourselves in terms of here's what we're going to accomplish, here's what we're going after. And when you start looking at, here's what I'm going to have done by this period of time, in 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, in your case, by the end of March and the specific dates, it gives you something to now, it gives you something to start focusing on immediately and accelerating towards in terms of practicing the behaviors that are going to get people, to your event, or practicing the behaviors that are going to get people onto your Google Hangouts, or practicing the behaviors that are going to allow you to close deals. So we're not just living, in the authority realm, which is usually in our mind, or based on some kind of external thing that's happened to us, whether it's a degree or some kind of accomplishment in the past, but it's looking to the future in a way that's almost sort of like, Kellen, kind of like speed reading. I look at, as I mentioned last week, that accelerated learning is very much like speed reading. It's like taking a look and the ability to go through a book, for example, consume it with a high degree of retention, and that's what accelerated learning is. And accelerated reading, accelerated learning. You've heard this concept before, that you don't learn business, you really do business. And again, it's what you've referred to, Kellen, the difference between authority versus practice. So let's talk a little bit about the event that you've got coming up. How are you, and what you're doing today, how are you organizing or restructuring your time? Because that's the one common denominator that we all have. And there's got to be, like, if you look at accelerated learning, we all have a fixed periods of time in our lives, and that's, we all have the same number of seconds, same number of minutes, same number of days. Let's talk about how you're chunking or are organizing your time a little bit differently. So you've mentioned already, your focus on closing deals, etc. Are there some tips, some strategies you'd like to share with our listeners around how you're organizing your time, just to make sure that you're staying on task with the kind of the appointments that you've given yourself, those senses of, here's what you're going after, what are you doing specifically, so you can recommend that to our viewers, not our readers.
I can. So specifically, the chunking, you have to identify what things have to happen. So if I'm going to have an event, I have to have people. So if I have to have people, I have to invite people. And if I'm going to invite people, I have to be in front of people. So this is all what is sort of the critical path items that have to get done before it's done. So the dates are set. I have 4.5 weeks. I want to have 12 to 20 people here at a place. I have somebody working on finding me a luxury location that I can use here in the Phoenix area, because that's another thing we did in Omegamine that I thought was cool. I see my video's frozen. Am I frozen for you, Glenn?
You are.
So let me unfreeze me.
And that's okay. That's part of the. Oh, there you go.
Am I unfrozen?
You are unfrozen, sir.
All right. I'd hate to get drowned in a little
I think
drop of water by my head.
Arctic air from my area has infiltrated your area and frozen you there for a little bit.
You see, it froze that little drop of water right there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so it froze a drop of water midair. Anyway, this is not complicated. Okay, right. The answer is, what specifically do you need to get done? I need people at the event. That means I got to invite them. If I'm going to invite them, and I'm going to have them pay, and they are, then I have to make it worthwhile. I have to create the big problem I'm going to solve. I have to make it worth their while. I have to make them so excited that they're going to get that problem solved that they're salivating, and that they can't wait to get there. And I have to get in front of them to do that. And I have to have something really cool to say to have that. So it's that. So this physically, what I'm doing is I'm holding 2 hangouts a week. One more this week, so there'll be one Saturday. There'll be 1, 2 every week. Besides that, there are a number of individuals that I know of that are already on my list, or clients, or past clients, or prospective clients, and I'm going to be specifically inviting. But the point is to get those invitations.
Go ahead, Kellen. You there.
Yeah, I saw that. So people can organize their schedules, and people can organize the things that they have to do around us so they can show up at the event. So that's specifically what I have to do. And if I go from the analogy this morning, I think about what 3 things in terms of that event do I have to get done today, 3 or 4. I must. And then I'm going to work on lengthening that list so I can pat myself on the back and say I did more stuff. Cool. And that it fixes the mindset of defeat when I look at the 50 things that I could do today, maybe all of which are good, but I know that I can't, and so you start in a mindset of never getting your stuff done, as opposed to I win and I'm winning bigger. So anyway, that's specifically what I'm doing. Lining out the critical path items. How am I going to get people there? Who do I want there? And what actions do I need to take to get my face in front of those people to invite them to a place they desperately want to be, because I'm going to solve a problem I know they have.
Yeah, you know what? And congratulations, because you are not relying on authority. You're not relying on overthinking. You're relying on praxis. You're relying on actually taking the right practice or the critical path to closing deals and bringing people into something, bigger. And that's what people want. So if I just quickly summarize here a couple of things. Um, Accelerated learning never starts with the advantages of your system or the features and the benefits of your system. It never starts with the cost or the price of your program or your service. It always, first of all, starts with the big idea. What is it? I call it the thesis. What is it you're trying to prove? What's the big idea that somebody is going to capture their imagination? So we want to start with their imagination. You heard Kellen mention deductive. So that's the part of the brain that can only say yes to you. And that's really important. And the way Kellen comes across is very deductive, because there's a lot of people that feel that energy and they want to say yes, they want to be close to that, they want to be a part of that. The second critical path and messaging then, outside of the big idea, is to make sure that you position yourself where the big change in the market. What is the big change going on in the market? Why should somebody want to be involved in what you're doing? And you haven't even talked about your services or anything yet, but positioning the change and getting their attention around that change. And then how do you get someone's attention and accelerate that attention from an accelerated learning perspective? You focus on the problem. Build the problem, and a better problem than your competitors are doing. Build a better problem before you build a better mousetrap. And yet so many people, myself included, find myself focusing, Kellen, on the advantages of what we do, the features and the benefits of Omegamine, etc., as opposed to focusing on those three core areas that I just taught you, we just covered here. Kellen, as we wind up our Google Hangout today, why don't you let people know, when you were at our last Omegamine event, you were caught up in a couple of conversations, closing some deals, etc. What's changed in your life? Let's just nail a couple of things. What's changed in your life? The bigger picture of what's going on in Kellen Flukiger's life and your wife Joy's life. What's changed from what you've learned from Omegamine?
Okay. Today I have an absolute clarity that I can close really high-end deals and provide value commensurate with those things. I know that. I know what it is that I can solve for people in a way that's really important and speaks to a better problem description or a powerful problem that they have. And I know that I can do that. And the process of getting to those two knowledges, that I can close high-end deals and I can solve a problem that people really have, has been guided, structured, and accelerated by participation in this process in the last 5 months.
That's great, and the key word is participation. You can't get success unless you participate, and that's where accelerated learning really comes in. It's not about just learning how to speed read. It's about taking the concept of speed reading, or using that analogy of speed reading, in what you're focusing on doing. And that's really where accelerated learning comes to play. Because people, when they're doing something, and all the studies show this, that everything is really passive learning. When you read it, when you listen to it, when you watch something, that's really passive learning, and active learning comes by doing. So congratulations on that, Kellen, and really look forward to seeing your results from the next event. And as we finish off here, how can people find out more about Kellen Flukiger?
Speedtoprofitmarketing.com.
All right.
Find out something about the event, speedtoprofitmarketing.com, or my name, KellenFlukiger.com. That's easy.
All right. Thanks, Kellen. I really look forward to seeing you again, and I really look forward to meeting you again and seeing you at our next Omegamine event. Have a great one, everybody. And on behalf of the great Kellen Flukiger and the entire Awaken team, I want to challenge all of you to leverage the power and concepts of accelerated learning by doing business. And as Kellen mentioned today, the critical path of success comes by not, positioning yourself or trying to become an authority. It becomes by practicing what other people really don't do, can't do, or wouldn't think of doing. And that's how you're going to accelerate your business. So thanks again, Kellen, and I look forward to our next Google Hangout together, everyone.
All right. We'll see you.